Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the What the Football channel. We are back. We're excited for the upcoming season. We just got through the free agency, and so the team is kind of lined up and kind of settled a little bit here before the draft. So we're excited to be back, and we're excited that hopefully some of you are joining us. Leave some comments in the comment section if you want. And also with us today, BH made it back as well. Welcome, BH.
I made it. Yeah, man. Glad to be back. Kind of excited now for the draft. That's my favorite time of year. Been looking at a lot of YouTube videos, looking at all these players they're talking about, kind of doing a lot of mock drafts and stuff. So it's really exciting. So we're going to talk about that today, and we're going to go over the whole roster. Yep. Just a little bit, because there's been some changes. And so that kind of going over that roster is going to help us, kind of as we look towards the draft in terms of needs or, immediate needs or backups, that kind of stuff. So, well, not a whole lot happened in the off season. There was a lot of, re-signed a lot of guys, which was good, kind of a lot of backups and stuff. I think some of the most important ones was that we got, Danny Johnson. Yep. It was signed. Cornelius Lucas, our swing tackle, really important guy to have. I think we got a guy, F.A.
Obata.
Obata, yeah. So, and I guess Bunmi Rotimi got extended for another year.
Oh, yeah.
Who else? The kicker, Brian Johnson, got to have a backup.
Yep.
Now, Bobby McCain got a 2-year deal, which I'm really glad about that.
Yep.
And our kicker, Joey Sly, I think he got a 2-year deal, which is really good. And some of the other guys they brought back were our backup center, Tyler Larson, the other one, John Toth. Yeah. Yep. Troy Apke, the DB. Yeah. Well, a guy that they picked up late, Milo Eifler, the linebacker, they actually signed him to a 1-year deal. So they must have liked what they saw, probably special teams kind of a guy.
Like Troy Apke, he's our special team guy.
Both of them. Now, they did get Daniel Wise, which was good because I think, he's gives us depth at defensive tackle. He slides a little both. I've seen him listed as a defensive tackle and defensive end. So they signed him. And of course, the Cam Sims, we mentioned Bobby McCain. And I think the big one was, guard Andrew Norwell, who played for Coach in Carolina. Yeah, he's a stud. He's a veteran. So he's a guy that we kind of needed him because, some of the guys we released were Landon Collins. We know Landon Collins. And
coming up in June, right?
Yeah. The 3 big ones, Collins, Eric Flowers, and Matthew Ioannidis. Ioannidis was a little surprising.
Yeah, I like him.
I did too. He actually re-signed somewhere. Okay. Someone picked him up. Now Landon Collins and what's his name? Eric Flowers. No one's picked him up yet. So there may be a chance. It was always about money. And that's how all this goes a lot of times. Guys want their best contract. And sometimes guys, when they can't come to a deal and then no one picks them up, they may be willing to come back. And it's happened before and renegotiate a better deal. They want to test the market. And sometimes, of course, the market's good to you. And sometimes the market says you're not what you're worth. So anyway, I wouldn't mind seeing Eric Flowers and Landon Collins come back.
Oh, yeah.
Both did great. Eric Flowers really did a really good job for us. So, and because we do have Wes Schweitzer, we'll talk about that at guard. And Wes has did a good job. It's primarily been a backup. You'd like a little more oomph at your guard position. So we'll just have to see.
For a while last year too, right?
Well, Scrubber, everyone centered.
Everybody centered for us last year. That's right.
Coach had everyone doing snaps at practice.
Oh my God!
Which reminds me, I think they did a 1-year deal. Keith Ismail also.
Oh, good. Yeah, Ishmael. That's right.
He
He did a
deserved
great
it, man.
job for us too.
Fourth string center. He never thought he'd see the field, and he was out there starting games left and right. So
And did
good for
great.
him.
Yeah.
So he was thrown into the fire. So yeah, they got him a 1-year deal, which I was happy for him. So anyway, you got your roster up there, your depth chart.
I do.
Well, let's start talking about some of these guys. The one off-season deal we didn't talk about. It starts off our depth chart is,
of course,
Carson Wentz.
Yeah,
we got a new
Carson.
Commander Carson's in, and Taylor Heineke remains. Taylor will be the backup. He did a great job. Probably one of the best backups in the league right now. I mean, you got to. I mean, with his experience, he knows the system. He knows the players. So that's a great deal. I think we're doing good there. We haven't signed anyone yet in that third spot.
What happened to Kyle Allen? Did they cut him loose?
Yeah, he just they never kept him. He became like technically, I think, a free agent. You know, it's that kind of thing where you don't really cut him. I think they just when you get to that cutoff point for the cap number, when the NFL wants you to report your roster, you just report who's on it, and anyone else he was technically a free agent at the end of the season. Now he could come back.
Yeah,
and
bring back Steven Montez.
Maybe Montez is out there, or they go, hey, in a different direction. Maybe in the one of our seventh round picks, there's someone else out there that falls to the seventh. Yeah, like a guy developmental guy. So
definitely.
Okay, so that's pretty solid if you ask me.
I don't mind Carson Wentz. One of my things I remember someone asking like who should be the quarterback for the Commanders, and I said anybody over 6'2".
Yeah,
so Carson Wentz is. A 6'5", and I think that might make up for the ginger. And our backup is a ginger, if I'm not mistaken. So.
Yeah, or that's Kyle Allen, I think.
Isn't Heineke's a ginger, ain't he?
I don't think so. He might be. Two of them? Oh man,
I know. I'm starting to come around. I'm starting to be a believer. I believe. So, well, good. Yeah, I'm happy about the quarterback position.
Yeah, I am too.
Fuck it.
Yeah, he's got a nice arm. He can make all the throws. That was our whole thing with Heineke. We saw it a lot of times. He had so much fire, worked as hard as anyone could to be good. But if you don't have the physical tools, if you can't hit those 3 levels out there on the field, the corners and the safeties are just going to crunch you because they know your limits. And Carson Wentz is not limited. Good. He can make all those throws. So you can't cheat. You got to cover sideline to sideline and watch your depth. And right there
last year.
Yeah. It was
not
tough.
Him being able to make those throws, not being
he
able
couldn't.
Because now Carson Wentz can stand over the top of everybody and just go.
Yeah.
Right over the middle, not like Heineke down there trying to move a guy out of the way to get the ball down. Russell Wilson.
Yep.
Trying to do this. He can just stand there and pop him. That's what you need. That's when you're a threat. When you make that over the middle thing happen.
Yep.
I'm happy.
Yeah, he did. We saw some of those. He made so many good, even deep throws and stuff. But then we saw a lot of them either deep throws or those out wide. Those are tough throws to make. Yeah. And we saw those dead ducks because when you're squeezing that ball extra hard and you're putting all your might into it, you get a lot of those. It's like when you're golfing, right? And you want to hit a really big drive, and it's the worst shot, and that's what happens. And so that's good. So like you, I like the quarterback room. So not much changed for the running backs.
Thank God.
I mean, it's like the same 4 guys: Gibson, McKissick, who thank goodness we almost lost McKissick to Buffalo.
God.
And Jared Patterson, and then Jonathan Williams is still on the depth chart.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah, so I don't see anything changing unless I don't know that they would even go into the draft. But a lot of things happen. We got 1 6th round, 2 7th rounders. It's they have their board, and if someone falls into that 6th round, a running back that they didn't quite expect, they're going to make a move. So competition's good. So that's the only thing. But other than that, that's pretty solid to me.
Well, 2 other aspects of that. On this depth chart, I got a guy named Reggie
Bonifon. Yeah.
I got him on here. And then you also can't forget the fullback, Alex Armah.
Alex Armah.
Oh, my God. I just want them to utilize that person more. Please.
Yep.
That's all I'm asking for.
Maybe this year now with, things not so crazy, the team's pretty much settled. COVID is blown away. Maybe that there's more of a chance to kind of implement, because he came in during the season.
Yeah, he didn't hardly play.
Yeah, so now maybe they can implement him more into the packages. They got more time and they can use them. So that would be great. Yeah. I think, once again, Bonifant, former Carolina guy. So anyway, it's always good to have bodies. You got to bring people in. You got to have people to kind of fill camp up, because you can't have your starters running drills, all through camp. And you know what I mean? You got to, those guys need a break. So those backups and people like that really help the team overall, running through drills, 7-on-7s. You give everybody a blow, and it's just a great time to look at guys and just see if they're going to be any good for you.
Hell yeah.
So,
Backfield looks good.
Looks really good to me. Really, quite frankly, nothing's changed on the wide receiver room either.
Yeah, that's true.
I think now that's going to be something we'll talk about during the draft, because I don't think we have any obvious holes in the wide receivers, but I do think we have some question marks. So let's look at it. We've got Terry, who's not signed yet. So there's a little bit of controversy there, but I have a feeling after June 1st, when they do that, they get that money from cutting Landon Collins. They got some money to work with. Who knows? I don't know what's going on. The whole wide receiver thing in the NFL has gone haywire, and teams are now debating, do I want to pay $28 million for a receiver, or do I want to try and trade him, which I'm not advocating for trading Terry McLaurin. This is just the truth of the situation, and teams are making that decision. You can get a first and a second. You go, wow, maybe that's where we should go. I hope they don't. Hope they work it out. But then it's the same people. We've got Diami Brown coming back for a second year, which is good. Curtis Strange, Dax Milne, Antonio Gandy Golden, Mark and Michael. You seeing anyone else that are listed a little deeper in? Mark and Michael.
Kelvin Harmon.
I don't think Harmon. Maybe
they just got him on here. They got him on the roster bubble practice player squad.
Okay.
And then I don't know. Adam Humphries.
No, Humphries he's a free agent. So those guys are probably, I don't think they're technically on right now. I'm not sure if they are. Humphries was a free agent. Another guy who's a free agent who hasn't been signed. So there's another guy, maybe Harmon too. They can be brought back. They're out there. No one signed them.
I like Humphries. I think he would have a better job. I think both him and McLaurin would both benefit from Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I agree.
That would be the reason to stay. If it was Heineke again, maybe they might want to roll. But with Carson Wentz, they'll just hold out maybe for a little bit more money. Or, that's respect to them. Give me a little more money. Come on.
Yeah, throw me a bone here. Yeah, so it's interesting. And I guess they wait for the draft too, because it depends on where you put your capital, who you're going to bring back. So
exactly, good call.
Yeah, I mean, there's some question marks though with all that.
Curtis Samuel's always a question mark.
Even Diami Brown's a question mark, only in that he's a second-year guy. Every report I've heard is that the team's excited about him, coaches are excited about him, because he's, receivers are that way in second year, third year. Devontae Adams didn't just jump in. Even by his second year, he was nowhere near what he is now. It takes time to develop. So, but there's high hopes. But then once again, got a lot of, it's like all these mini question marks with our receivers. And we'll talk about that when we get to our draft portion.
Cool. Yeah, it looks pretty solid.
It does. I feel. Yep. Now, tight end, I think we got our Logan Thomas, John Bates, and Samus Reyes are there.
I'm good with that.
Me too. It looks like, I bet you they'll bring either through some, maybe some other free agent bodies out there, maybe in the draft. I'm sure they'll get some other bodies in just to see. But for me, that's fine. They let
Ricky Seals,
and he got signed. Ricky Seals Jones, he was a free agent. I think he did a good enough job. I'm not surprised he did get signed. Exactly. He did a real good job for us. I think he just got pushed out by two young guys, John Bates especially. I mean, if Bates makes that second year jump for as well as he played,
Yeah.
He's going to be a monster. And then Samus is just going to get better. So I'm happy with that group, to be honest with you.
Hell yeah.
So now we do have a bit on our offensive line. It's Charles Leno, Chase Roulier will be back at center, and Sam Cosme will be right tackle. The biggest changes are going to be, Brandon Scherf is gone. I think he went to Jacksonville, and of course, we were talking about Eric Flowers is a free agent out there. They couldn't come to an agreement. I think he wanted like $10 million a year. I don't know what they were asking for, but they just couldn't come to an agreement. And we'll see what happens. I kind of hope they bring him back. I hope he tests the waters, readjusts, what he knows he can get, and then come back. And then, they do a deal. I mean, he's a pretty good guy. He's 28, and we have an older, except for Cosme, we've got a pretty much older line. We've got a lot of 29, 31, 32-year-olds who play good. I mean, their PFF scores are good, and Pro Football Focus thinks highly of our offensive line. But, you got a bunch of 29 and 30-year-olds. You're asking for trouble in the next couple of years. So we can do that. And I mean, some of these backups, that's the other thing here. I mean, Bo Benchwell, Nolan Laufenberg, we got guys like that. I mean, Sadiq Charles is a weird one. Yeah, he's real young, but they got him listed as a backup tackle. Mm-hmm. And when a little bit of tackle time he had last year, he got torched on passing, and it shows up
on here. They got him as backup guard.
Good. Well, that's what he should be. Maybe they had a talk with him, because he's just, he could be a hell of a guard. He is a run blocking monster. But if he would dedicate himself to guard, it's easier to pass block as a guard than a tackle. It's not like it's easy.
Right.
But
he trick plays on you and stuff.
Yeah. And when you're a tackle, you get that other team's best guy every time coming at you. It's a hell of a job. So, but he's a heck of a run blocker, man. So if you could just convince him to say, hey, you're a guard, and maybe they're telling him, you're going to be a guard, you're practicing at guard. Now, if you don't like it, let us know. We'll trade you, we'll release you. But, I think at some point he has to commit, because, we talked about this before. Cornerbacks do not want to get moved to safety. No. Tackles don't, they want that premier job. They want that. But I think so. I'm glad that they have him listed there as a guard, because quite frankly, that's where his future, and it would help us immensely. If he could step up and make the next step, he could be, like you said, he's young. He's only 24, a young guy. Big young guy. I mean, he would really help solve some of those problems.
They got him behind that new guy, that Norwell guy.
Good. Well, that's good. See, that's what we need. So I'm glad.
I'm kind of area is sewn up, in my opinion.
Heck yeah, Ismail, Toheb. We got 4 good centers. There's no problem there. So yeah. Overall, this kind of falls in line with what we've said and what I watch national media. They all say the same thing. They go, man, there's no real giant holes on this team. There's issues for sure. But they talk about a lot of teams, and their DBs are a mess, or their interior O-line's a disaster. And decent teams. So we don't have that. So
no, we're good.
Yeah. Well, let's talk want to do some defense then?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I don't think we really have not seen, I don't think there's really any changes on defense that I can.
We look good.
We do. Everyone's pretty much the same. Jamin, David Mayo, Kendall Fuller, Cam Curl, Bobby McCain got signed for free safety. William Jackson will be back.
Yeah.
Danny Johnson's backing him up. The same backups, Derek Forrest, Jeremy Reeves.
Yep.
Benjamin St. Jude, we had that concussion thing. He'll be back.
Mm-hmm.
So
happy with every single one. Corn Elder.
Yep. A lot of guys. Yeah. And then defensive ends, we've got our Chase Young. Let's hope he may still be a little slow at the beginning of the season. They're going to be careful with him. But he's rehabbing like crazy. So, man, hopefully guys get
he better quickly. Be, because everybody behind him is a star. So
yeah, I'm telling you, look at these backup behind him and Sweat. Casey Toohill, James Smith-Williams, Daniel Wise,
Yeah.
Bumi Rotini, Shaka Tony,
Yeah.
F.A. Obata. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of good backups there.
Those guys
and they
are all good, man. Every one of them.
They got thrown in last year too.
They did. It was a good mix last year. Every one of those guys played hard in all them games.
Yep. Now, the other thing, though, that is the only other big change from, as far as backups that I'm seeing is, what's his name? Ioannidis is gone.
Yeah.
And, who was it? I can't remember. We had another defensive tackle, a real young guy. We kind of were waiting for him to play more. I can't remember his name. He ended up actually, he got picked up too. So he was a free agent. They didn't sign him. What was his name? Doggone it. It'll come to me later.
Yeah.
But we lost two solid backups, and all we have is Tyler Clark and David Bada. Bada is part of that international series, I think. He's one of the international players, and Tyler Clark is he was just a free agent we picked up, but that guy has very little to almost zero experience. Are you seeing anybody else?
Daniel Wise?
Wise, yeah, they put him in like I said, they put him at defensive end, but he does play defensive tackle. Right. So he seems to be able. So I guess he's a guy I would put in. So that's good, but still, when you look at those three guys, you're thinking,
James Smith-Williams or Bradley King or Bunme can't fill that role.
Yeah, I don't know.
No,
that's another guy. Do you have Bradley King on there?
He's as a defensive end.
Yeah, so those guys now, because they're like that 265, 260 pound. Whereas actually Daniel Wise is pretty big. He's up 285. Yeah. But he has played defensive end actually. But I think he did a lot of defensive tackle. But that's important. We're gonna have to look at that in the draft because those guys, there is a rotation aspect to that. Yeah. They're not like offensive linemen just play the whole game. But those D-line guys, because they blow a lot of air rushing and stuff, and so you want to rotate those big boys out. So we'll have to talk about that in the draft. They might be either through the draft or free agency. Maybe as teams have to make cuts, maybe we can pick up some other bodies because these guys, because you want to have some, you want to have the best backups you can have. So, other than that, man. Yeah, the D's coming back really strong.
Yeah.
Let's look at special teams.
Did we do linebackers?
Let me see. Did we? Oh, no. You're right. We didn't. I kind of barely mentioned it.
That was the hole that we need to actually look at here. So
yeah, exactly. Same Cole Holcomb with Jamin Davis kind of, and then David Mayo. I think David Mayo took over the middle towards the end of the season, kind of from Jamin Davis. Yeah. Things weren't quite working out. So it'll be interesting to see which way they go. They did not pick up a middle linebacker in free agency, which was surprising to me. I thought they were going to. There were some real good ones. So it makes you wonder what their thought process is.
But they did, Mayhew and Rivera did say something about Cole Holcomb, and that it's on this depth chart that I got, they got him at number 1 and they got Mayo at number 2.
Yeah.
And they've got Jamin Davis, DeJohn Harris and Milo Effler on the one side, and Kalike Hudson and Jordan Kaniziak on the other.
Right. Yep. So they got to decide what they're going to do at middle linebacker. Mm-hmm. Mayo's good. He's a veteran. That's why they put him in.
He did good for us last year too. He was a killer.
He did. His only thing is, like most linebackers, the hardest thing in linebacking is coverage. Mm-hmm. And so you're always finding that thing where we need a guy who can go in and tackle these running backs, but we need a guy who can stay kind of with tight ends, help us in zone. And so a lot of those guys like David Mayo, once they get out in space, they're not quite as effective and they can be taken advantage of. But to your point, when he came in, and the coach even said it, having David in there with Cole solidified things. Yeah. And also by then, Jamin Davis's brain was just fried. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that happens. I've seen so many interviews and discussions with rookies. The NFL season is so long, and last year it was one game longer. It was during COVID, but even back in the day, when you talk to some veterans, they talk about their rookie year and they say, it's so much longer than college and it's so intense. Here at college, I went to class, had a girlfriend, and we had practice and we worked out, but it was a full-time job, and a lot of them said, and then the plays and the schemes and the shit they had to remember. They said, by week 14, they were zombies. They had taken in as much as they can. I'm talking guys that went on to be great football players. Said, I was whooped. I was done. And so then you get that whole off season and you come back to it a different person. You're not starting from ground zero. So we'll see. I tell you what, me personally, and I'm really in the minority here. I think Jamin Davis can play middle linebacker for this team.
I thought maybe they hand it over to Cole Holcomb.
Well, what they said is, and this is like, they said, we're going to probably look at Cole at middle linebacker. Well, they could say, we're going to look at Cameron Cheeseman at middle linebacker. They can say things like, he said, Coach did say, hey, maybe he was out of position. Maybe he should be our weak side linebacker. Maybe he could do more over there. But I think they were giving Jamin Davis coverage from the media, from the fans, from everyone asking, because he's a first-round pick. And if your first-round pick doesn't blow up, everyone panics. They lose their mind. Why did you pick? You could have had this guy, and then you got him. Yeah. What were you thinking? So they start to freak out. I don't think it's over for Jamin Davis. He's too incredibly fast and quick. He's super athletic. He's got this wingspan. People forget he only had 1 year of starting in Kentucky. He worked his way up on the team, and then he was a starter, and he was great. And everyone was like, "Oh my God, this guy's awesome." Then when he tested his 40, his 3-cone, they measured him, his length, his ability to go sideline to sideline. Everyone said, "This guy's a prototypical middle linebacker in the NFL. This guy can cover, and he can." But the thing is, he just didn't have the experience, man. It takes a long time, because what is it that he couldn't do? He couldn't read and react fast enough. Well, because you need time to read and react. You need to get in there and watch plays. So we'll see. I mean, if he has to go be I'm
open to whatever, personally.
If he has to be our weak side linebacker, there's nothing wrong with that, because he is a stud. I mean, he physically, his tools, his speed, his length. I mean, that guy is, and he showed it on film in Kentucky. It wasn't like he was just like a wonder boy at the during testing. I mean, he actually has. Yeah, and he had film at Kentucky to back up what he could do. Yeah. So we'll see. But I think they wanted to give him a little coverage so he didn't get stampeded. Because if they just came out and said, "Nope, Jamin Davis is our middle linebacker," the press and the fans would have lost their mind. So we'll see. But I think we'll see how they address it in the draft. I think it'll be pretty darn interesting. So,
well, I like at least the two of them, and so they need something going on there for the third guy. So
I think so.
All right.
So we're looking at, we got a great D-line. Let's do special teams. Yeah. I mean, the good news is Joey Sly came in last year and played great for us, and they signed him to a 2-year deal.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think he missed a field goal when he came in for us, did he? I don't think he did. He was pretty spot on. Mm-hmm. I mean, he did a really good job.
Leg, and he's got a good cadence to that, especially with Cheeseman and what's his name holding the ball?
Tressway, who's got a great punter. He's a great holder. I mean, that team, those guys, Cheeseman's a great snapper. So I think we're doing really good there. I mean, they did keep Brian Johnson, the kicker. Yeah. We were talking about that early. Coach wants to have someone available. We don't want to get caught short again.
Right. And he punts too. Punts and kicks. I mean, he'll get you by anyways, at least on punting.
Hey, that happens, man. Kickers, well, all players, but a punter can come down on a hammy, and then you don't want you got a running back who said, "Yeah, I kicked in junior high school." And you're like, okay, well, get in there, buddy. So we don't want that. So and then who else we got? Well, we got the great Jared Patterson. Since I think DeAndre Carter did move on, which is a bummer. I knew you'd be bummed. He was so good. He was really good.
He did so good for us.
He did everything we want. And then when our receivers were like dropping like flies, he ran out there.
Sweet guy.
and he caught passes, and
Yeah.
he was awesome. But that kind of goes because he was a veteran. He's been around a few teams. I forgot that DeAndre's like 28 years old. I mean, he's been in the league 6 or 7 years already. So that was a little surprising.
He was a comfort catching the punt and the kickoff.
Yep.
You just knew he was going to secure the ball. And some of these guys, you're like,
yeah, you're all nervous.
Oh God, he got it. Thank God, but not with him. So
not with him. But you know what? Our preseason favorite player, the guy we called it right away.
Yep.
Our guy right off the bat was Jarrett Patterson.
Yep.
And he showed the coaches enough. I'm sure he was doing punts and kicks in practice.
Mm-hmm.
And he even did, I think he had that punter kick return in preseason where, he blasted off like a 40-yard run and went out of bounds. And right away we're going, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. So, I mean, and he's a young guy, so he's perfect.
Good guy. Yeah.
Great guy.
To secure the ball security that's high on his list. And that's what impresses me. Ball security. Yep. So as long as you got that going on, everything else you do is good. So
he has that flex appeal that we talk about. So we don't have to have a special kick returner. We've got a backup running back who's really good at kicking and punt returns. And we have other guys too. I mean, we've got some other guys. I mean, Curtis Samuel actually has great experience back there too. So we're not, it's not just one guy that has to do it. There's Cam Sims, same thing. So
Danny Johnson.
I think Danny did too. Yeah, you're right.
Didn't he vie for that spot like last year or something?
I think he did, and he has experience doing it. So so bottom line, special teams looks actually pretty darn good. I mean,
super happy with it.
Yeah, and coming in with Joey Sly is going to be such a big deal because unfortunately, our kicker last year just, he struggled the year before off and on, and then came in struggling, and then he'd do good, and then and it was just right away is like a question mark. I kind of feel going into this year, these guys that we have on special teams. Tress is a total killer punter, great holder. Cheeseman's proved himself. Mm-hmm. I mean, that guy, he didn't have a bad snap all year.
No.
I mean, that guy's a monster. He's a scientist for snapping. So really we can almost say special teams, great. Okay, you guys go over here and do whatever you guys do in practice, and we don't have to worry about you.
Yeah.
And I think that's wonderful, man. Yeah. I mean, I love it.
Special teams, man, and like turnovers are what win your fucking football game.
Without a doubt.
You know what I mean? Everything else you're going to get anyways. You're going to get 350 yards of passing, 125 yards of running, but where were the fumbles? Where was that extra point?
Yep.
That's what won and lost the game. So,
tight with and were you giving up bad field position on punt and kick returns?
Exactly. Tress won't do that. Tress is great because he can blast it. I mean, he's got a good leg for that, and he drops it inside the 10.
Yeah, that's like a guy.
A better punter than that, man.
That's like a guy who can hit, 360-yard drives, and is a wizard getting out of bunkers. That just never happens. It's one or the other, Yeah. But we got Tressway, and he's good at both. And the guys we use. I mean, I don't know who the Gunners are going to be this year, but the guys we used at Gunners were awesome. They never got juked.
was one, and Cam Sims is the other.
I hope Cam is on Is Cam on our roster?
I got Cam Sims on there.
Good.
He's behind Diami Brown on that wide receiver side.
Good. Oh, I see him.
Both him and Troy Apke were our Gunners.
I got him. So that's, So, I mean, without a doubt. Yeah, and they did good. They never let anyone get outside the lines on them.
They were always played the punt smart. One knows to go run behind the punter in case they're faking.
Yep.
To catch that.
They did a great job.
Got that shit down now, too. And they do a little crisscross thing in the middle. They don't run down the outside. One will run down the inside. One will run down the outside.
You pointed that out.
Putting it over there, and they got that shit worked out. So
it's really cool. Like, and it just, and then they've got a whole setup for the rest of the team. Look, our Gunners are going to come up and up the middle. So the other guys know they branch out and go to the side. And that's really kind of neat because it keeps the other team on their toes. Mm-hmm. So, well, cool.
Special teams got special from us.
God dang, man, can't argue with those guys. I mean, and you know what? Special teams is important.
It is.
I don't ever want to knock them down, but God, if there's so many on offense and defense, there's so much that has to be right. Coaches and schemes and plays. You just don't want to be farting around with your special teams. You don't want, the snapper's got a glitch and now he's, and you're like, oh, I don't, really?
Yeah.
I don't need the snapper to have a problem.
With our kicker last year, it seemed like something was in his head. He was
and
fucked.
then it gets into the team's head and the coach's head.
Yeah.
And the coach has got to think, coach, I don't want to think about the kicker. God, I got enough freaking problems, dude.
Yeah.
So
which forces you to think about the kicker.
Yeah.
So if I say don't think about an elephant, what's the first thing you do? You think of an elephant. So, fuck.
Don't say kicker. Yeah. So too funny. Yeah. Well, look, man. So okay. So I mean, really, overall, what would you say? I mean, as we're going into this draft, I don't feel like we got to get somebody. I mean, I don't feel like I was looking at the Chargers, how they got so trashed last year against Oakland. Their poor right tackle got worked so bad. I don't know what direction they're going to go, but I mean, most people are thinking, you guys better get a right tackle because you cannot go into the season with that guy. And there's other issues. There's teams like Cincinnati who went to the Super Bowl, got a guy, I don't want to pick on him, Eli Apple. He's not very good. When Cincinnati signed him, I thought, God, he was done when he was, I think, with the Giants. He was toast. He was, and then you guys signed him, but that's the way of the world. That's the way it is, And they did, and he wasn't horrible, but they picked on him, and he's just, So you're looking at Cincinnati, and they have other things to fill. But even the team went to the Super Bowl. They're getting a corner in this draft. I mean, they're got to get someone else in there. So I don't feel that way too much about us. I think the thing with us kind of was the quarterback position. If there was anyone that we all would agree, hey, we can't go forward with Heineke. Let's just all be honest. But we took care of that. We took care of that. So
he's great. Where he is.
He is.
I just think maybe overpaid a little bit for Carson.
Without a doubt, I think so too. I think we did.
But like you said, that's the way of things. It's already his contract, and you can't take less. Why, motherfucker? I've taken less pay at a job that I've had.
No kidding.
If you want to make the job function, I've taken less hours and less pay. Sorry.
Yeah.
You just got to. So
it
shows your dedication. Like for me, in kind, it's showing dedication to the team. Look, I'm willing to take it. If you guys think we're going to make it, and you think this other guy will complement what I do, and a lot of times too, if you're a quarterback giving up a little bit of money, it might help. Like Russell Wilson, you dick. Give up some money so you can put some into the front line. Seahawks could never put into the front line. He bought them refrigerators at the beginning of the year or something. Like, dude, really?
Yeah.
Then throw them under the bus later. So if you're spending money on complimenting your team, do it. By all means, take my money. Dude, I want more protection.
And that's why I say, like a lot of these quarterbacks, like in real, say, well, I want to have a say in what's going on. The guy goes, okay, well, look, we need an extra $5 million to sign this right tackle. Well, I didn't say I was going to give you any money. I just wanted to have a say. And it's like, get the out of here. Yeah. You want to help us out, brother. Yeah. Brady was good at that. Brady didn't come in and rape Tampa Bay.
I was going to say, that's exactly what I was going to say next. Brady just took a good salary. It was good, but it's not over the top. I think even Aaron Rodgers was kind of like that for a while too. He was just
for a little bit. Yeah. So. But now, man, we're in the times of the $40 million company. I mean, heck, $28 million for Wentz, dude, that's a deal. That's for po people. So anyway, and there's so anyway, we took care of that. So, well, where are we at now? Here comes a draft. What are you looking at? We got a first round, a second round, a fourth round. We have a sixth round and 2 7. So we don't have a third rounder, which is kind of a bummer in this draft. A lot of good. And we don't have a fifth, but the first and second picks. I mean, is there any position that you're kind of hoping we would fill?
Well, considering that Diami Brown, his second year, and his route running was questionable. He was good. He was out there maybe playing with Heineke. He couldn't show everything he had. So, and then of course Curtis Samuel is this huge, always a question mark for me.
Yeah.
So, and especially with Terry McLaurin on the fence a little bit. Do you need to put a wide receiver there in that first one? And then of course there's the linebacker position. Do you want to try and fill in right there too? But linebacker isn't that prioritized for the front of the draft, right?
Yeah, in some ways, it's that way. Because I mean, I even heard a quick discussion. I think it was actually Daniel Jeremiah saying linebackers have to be such hybrids. Going back to what I was saying about Jamie Davis, we expect them to cover tight ends and speedy slot receivers, but then we want them to turn around and blow up a 330-pound guard and tackle the running back. It's kind of like that's really not fair. They're 238, 228 pounds, and so it makes it very difficult. So what Daniel Jeremiah was saying is teams are really now get your defensive line set, get the best guys there, get your cornerbacks set, get your DBs and safeties done back there, and then do what you can in the linebacker position because it's just so thankless. You just get the best guys you have, and having them surrounded, sandwiched between these two great groups, you can really do a lot more.
And we can move your strong.
You can move your strong safety up like we do with that position, and you can cheat a little bit and help your linebackers and disguise your linebackers better. If your defensive line and your defensive backfield is good, so. There are some good middle linebackers, and they're going to be available in the second round. 2 first-round backers, Nakobe Dean from Georgia, and another guy, Devin Lloyd. But to me,
what about this scenario? What if they kept Landon Collins? What does that do to everything?
Well, then you could pretty much keep everything the same because he kind of plays that role. I forget what they call that. What was that? They have a name for it.
A dime or something almost.
Yeah, it's got another name, and Ron's used it before where he likes to bring that guy up on the line, but he can also go back and cover. And it really worked because Landon could blitz better. He blew up a lot of running plays. He was better covering in short area zones.
That's that short strong side, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And Ron's done that quite a bit, actually, historically, which I didn't really know. Someone had pointed that out to me in a discussion forum. I thought it was relatively new. And they said, no, Ron's always kind of liked having that position. So maybe he comes back. So now if they do that, I think they can work with what they got.
Okay, cool. That's what I was trying to get to. I thought if they kept him, now what does that do to the cap space and like Terry McLaurin?
Yeah, the thing is, if he comes back, he's going to eat up a lot, but I think there's also just a little off track here. There's a way with Carson Wentz, you can turn either his whole $28 million into a bonus or even half of it into a bonus. Right. So you could save up to $7 to $14 million up front this year. You create anywhere from $7 to $14 million in cap space. Right. You're still going to need that for Terry. But that's all different too, because Terry will get a big contract. A lot of that's loaded back. So the first year you can get him to take a moderate pay with a huge bonus, but the bonus is spread. So anyway, so Landon Collins wouldn't be up, but like to your point, if they could bring him in or get somebody in who they know could play that position at a cheaper price, then it takes care of the linebacker situation is not so dire. Yeah. So I just don't see, I've looked at it every way. I mean, I love these first round linebackers are awesome. Good. They could work out good, but I just don't know if they're going to do it because you're just starting
a really young linebacker core too.
But then again, you'd be putting a rookie in the middle again. And we did that last year and asking them to, play like an NFL veteran right off the bat again. So I don't know if we want to go through that because it is a learning curve. Yeah.
I'd say but you wide receiver spot.
Yeah. You said, and I think so too. And even if, even if Terry gets signed, or even if like behind the scenes, they know they're going to sign Terry, they're just waiting for the money to settle and they're going to do it. And maybe they have an agreement with Terry's agent saying, look, just give us some time so we can pass June 1st and we'll take care of this situation. I still think there's too many question marks, and especially when you include Logan Thomas in that. He's a receiver, he's a tight end, but he's a big receiver coming off an ACL. Diami Brown's coming into a second year. Curtis Samuel was an injury waiting to happen. To me, there's too many question marks. Yeah. Let's get a receiver. And at 11, there's a bunch of guys to choose from.
Cool.
So I think
that's what I think.
Yeah. I think another place, we talked about the guard situation. So here we are again. Are we going to be able to? Is it going to be Wes Schweitzer? He's okay, but wouldn't it be nice to have an upgrade? So I thought about maybe a guard would be good.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I know we
The
have Danny
guards are a little
Johnson.
farther down the line, or your
No,
best one
inside.
to try and get up front.
Guards right next to the center. Your tough, meaty blocker guys.
No. I meant, do you get your guard in the draft up front, or
No.
or that can wait a little bit farther down for your
guards?
I thought maybe a good guard might be right up front and go quick.
Yeah, and a good guard will, but it's always, you were right. Linebackers and guards, not a lot of them go in the first round.
Okay.
A little more go in the second round, more go in the third and the fourth.
And we're not getting the third.
Yeah, exactly. So the first round is always like edge players, defensive ends, wide receivers, quarterbacks, right tackles, left, those real important ones. And it's kind of, you lose out on some really good people sometimes because they call it positional value. I mean, there isn't a lot of positional value for a linebacker. Sure, everyone would like to have a monster linebacker, but, look at your cornerbacks and sometimes you look at your offensive line and you're like, hey, it'd be great, but man, we need a right tackle. We need a right guard.
And so for us, complement what you do as well. It should complement the scheme and not just pull some guy in because he's got this.
Right.
Doesn't fit in your scheme. So,
yep. I think we do need to look. I mean, second round would be pretty early for a guard. Fourth round there's a lot of good big bodies. I don't know if they're plug and play guards, but there's a lot of good guards in the fourth round. I mean, could do a really good job. So we could look at guard. Corner is not a bad thing to look at when you consider that we did bring back Danny Johnson. William Jackson struggled a little bit in our scheme, but did get better. So it's a tale of two seasons with William Jackson. He looked awful at first.
It was, yeah.
And when he came back from that injury, he even admitted he was overthinking things, that he made too big a deal about playing in zone. And I think he almost panicked. And then after he came back from the injury, you and I remarked, you never heard his name. There was no more pass interferences.
I know he got called a lot because he was playing tight football, and a lot of the penalties were unwarranted. I will say that.
A lot of those were cheesy. It's almost like he had a reputation, and he got burned a few times. But when he came back, but still, that's a little shaky. And another thing that concerns me is Benjamin St. Juste, who was a great signing with those two concussions back to back. This is a guy that gets a third concussion. It's pretty much, you got to go, hey, you're going to have to take the year off. And then we're going to want a full diagnostic workup because in the modern NFL, it's like, we can't have you come back and ruin your life.
And the two we got were almost back to back.
Almost back to back. And that's scary. And, all these guys get concussions in college. These aren't all the first times they've gotten their head rocked. Even when they were kids.
Football, and I know I banged my head hard enough to concuss myself.
I've had my share of falls, let me tell you. So I wouldn't mind getting a cover corner in the second or fourth, or however it presents itself. And then that's what happens in the draft is at number 11, weird stuff can happen. There could be some trades. Quarterbacks, this is not a very good quarterback draft, but teams just need quarterbacks. So they just they trade next year's second and this and that, and they move up to number 8 and get a quarterback. So that's good for us because anytime someone drafts a quarterback in those first 10 slots or moves up to get a quarterback, that's pushing players to us.
Yeah.
That's great. There's that O-line. And so you might get a guy, you might go, oh my God, we don't need an offensive tackle. But man, if someone like Evan Neal from Alabama is there, you can go play guard.
Yeah.
Get him. Just take them. You just got to do it. You can't let someone that good. And those freaky things do happen in drafts. It's very strange the way the drafts always go. A lot of the draft is like boom, boom, boom. It's like goes like you knew who was going to go. They all go. But then there's always those glitches. A good corner. There's a young guy. The top 2 corners are Sauce Gardner, Ahmad Gardner. He played with Cincinnati. He went to the national championship game. They lost to Alabama. He's a really good guy. And then Derek Stingley from LSU. They're the top 2. They're pretty monstrously good. Heck, Benjamin St. Juste was a 3rd round pick, and we pretty much had him in there almost starting. And these guys but they won't be there at 11. But that's the kind of thing where if they are there at 11, you get the guy, and then that's why they have a draft board. Because they're always ready. They just slot guys over. Holy crap. We thought we were going to get a wide receiver. Okay, let's look at the second round. Let's see who's there. And that's when you make a decision like, wow, we really want a wide receiver. We had to get that guy. And then in the second round, you might start contacting some teams ahead of you if some of these receivers are there, you might want to trade out, throw someone a pick next year, whatever it is, if you really love someone. That's the only time to do that. Or you just take your time, you wait, and you pick the best receiver. So anyway, that's and then all the other positions, I feel like, they can get backup interior linemen. They can get backup corners, safeties. Those 7th round picks can even be guys that play special teams. So,
development type, special teams type.
Yeah, a lot of guys. I mean, a lot of times they're flat drafted for special teams, dude. They can run around with the guys, but that's what they're there for. So,
I mean, even guys like Troy Apke and even Sammy Reyes, Patterson, they all run special teams. Like last year, they were on special teams, 25% of the time, 30% of the time. It puts them out on the field. I mean, any kind of experience is experience, as long, because the NFL, like you said, runs at top speed, and even special teams, you're like, you got to perform, and it gives you that, you got to learn. And so keeping them out on the field. So I like that developmental style of just bring them in, get them on special teams, get them out there. Troy Apke fills in when he needs to.
Yeah. I mean, that's his whole thing. I mean, and he might get out and play corner, but really a lot of those guys, they're a backup in case someone gets hurt, and they are slated to play on special teams, and they work their ass off with the coach on special teams, because that's their job. I mean, you got to know what's going on. If you're going to be a corner, you've got to know the schemes, you've got to know the calls, of course, but you probably spend most of practice working on punt coverage, return coverage, and a lot of starters work on special teams, man. And that's for every team. So I love it. So, well, you want to do a quick BH mock draft for the Washington Commanders?
Yeah, I think I've got some of what's going on down here, and I'll follow along.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we talked about receivers, a guy I really like. Now, I'll tell you what, this is a draft that I would like. There's a lot of ways to do it. Some people mock draft who they think the team will get. That's not what this is. This is sort of like what I would like to get.
Right.
And right now the team is a wish list. The team is linked up very strongly at going wide receiver first. And they're also linked up with a guy out of Ohio State called Chris Olave. He was in for stuff. I think they went out and visited Ohio State, although they have another wide receiver who's probably better than him. They might have been talking to him too. But anyway, we're closely linked with Olave. That happens in the draft a lot of times. A player gets linked to a team, and draft comes and they pick them. Early on, it's just one of those things. But having said that, the guy I really like is a guy, Drake London. He is out of USC, big guy,
tall guy, right? Like 6'4" or something?
Yep. Tall guy. They used him all over the field. That's what I like. We talk about flexibility. He played a lot out of the slot, but he also played wide as the wide receiver. He can play out at the end. So I love that flexibility about him. A lot of people say he's just just catches short passes and stuff, but he doesn't. He really does. He's not a burner, but he's such a big guy. He's like his player comp is Mike Evans from Tampa Bay.
Oh, cool.
Big guy. He'll go up and get the ball. He's great. I really like him. The only downside for him is he did come off a surgery, but I watched film of him during his pro day, and he was actually, during his pro day, he was running and cutting like it was nothing. So he looked fine to me. But he would be great. He's also a great blocker. And you have to have wide receivers have to block on this team.
At 6'4", I would hope so. He should be able to get out there and hold his own.
And he loves doing it. I saw a lot of film on him.
God.
Oh yeah. He's a willing blocker. He likes taking guys out.
I love that.
So to me, that would be awesome.
That's why I like John Bates and Sammy Reyes.
Yeah. Oh man, Bates is, I just did not think that guy could be that good so quickly. But having Bates, his highlights for blocking were just off the charts.
Yeah, they understand the necessity of that is just as important as catching a 7 or 8 or 10-yard pass.
Yep. Yeah, you don't get the runs, you don't get the field position if your receivers and tight ends aren't out there opening up secondary hole, getting guys out, getting the safeties and moving them. So this is a tough one, man, for me, because I think we should go corner. I'd love to get a stud corner, but the way the draft is falling, by the time we pick, a guy I would really like to get is a guy named Petrie out of Baylor. Jalen Petrie. He's a stud. He plays a lot like Landon Collins. He can come up on the line. He can cover slot receivers. He can play safety. He's one of these can do it all guys, but he's so good. When I started this 2 months ago, he was right in our wheelhouse. But as people started watching him, as he went through the combine, he keeps moving. He's not even going to be there. So I had to switch gears. So I'm looking at a guard named Darian Kennard. He's out of Kentucky. Big guy, 6'5", 345. Awesome player. He plays tackle. He does not play guard. But because of his size and stuff, he really is built for playing guard. He might not have the athleticism to play tackle in the pros. I mean, getting guys coming around, sometimes those guys, when they get to the pros, you just got to be super quick, good on your feet. You got to be able to slide fast. He's got the build, he's got big wingspan, long, but I think he's a guy, at the very least, bring him in and have him play guard. A lot of young players, a lot of great tackles in the NFL have played guard early in their career. I mean, even though they were tackles, the team just said, hey, we've got 2 tackles, we're just going to put you in the middle and go. So anyway, I like this kid. He's super big. He reminds me of Robert Gallery, he looks a lot like Robert Gallery. The Raiders had drafted him way back in the early 2000s. He was the second pick in the entire draft, which is a little too high at the time. But he was a tackle. He was a big monster of a man like this, who actually finally, after about 3 years of failing, they moved him into guard, and he actually had a pretty decent career. So, yeah. Now, there's another guy I like in the 4th round. Now, this is where we could get a good corner, or there are guards. There's a lot of positions in the 4th that are out there. You're just probably looking for guys that are, that got the athleticism you want, fit the scheme that you want. Scheme is very important. And there's a guy,
complementary players.
Yeah, Martin Emerson, MJ Emerson. I think he's a young guy who he's kind of raw, but he's very good at zone coverage. And he's long armed. He's kind of a late bloomer. He might be long gone in the 4th because he's starting to blow up in the draft. You see him, as the draft goes on. So Emerson, he reminds me of a guy named Tremaine Johnson, who came in the league the same way, was a 3rd round pick, and went on to have like a long career. He wasn't the fastest guy and everything, but he's a great zone guy who had a big wingspan. And in the zone coverage, a guy who can reach out and swap balls. And Tremaine Johnson had a great career. So I think, that for me is kind of it. Those first 3 picks kind of, and it might not be those players, but I kind of feel like wide receiver, corner, and guard. Or a tackle who you can move to guard and develop them. Because really, if you can get a guy who needs time to develop and be a good tackle, because we need to. Our tackles are old, except for Cosme, obviously. But our backup tackle and Leno, down the road, we got to have people ready to go. You got to
start developing them now. Yeah.
Now, exactly. So a guy like, and there might be a 4th round tackle who's really good but needs time to develop, but he's a big guy, and you bring him in and say, hey, look, you're going to play guard for a couple of years. And, but yeah. And so then we, after the 4th round, we've got a 6 and 2 7s. And at that point, all bets are off. You don't know who you're going to get. They have their list. They've got their board. They're either going to, take guys that they can specifically use as special teamers, or what they call guys with a lot of upside that they don't mind bringing in and giving a couple years to get better. A guy's what they call that high ceiling. Like, this guy's got these physical gifts, but he just needs a lot more work. There's a lot of guys you can bring in who started 4 years at Wisconsin. He's a safety. And let's get that guy, and you get him. But you know what? That guy you're going to get who you get. And he's going to be good. He's smart. He's strong. But he's just never going to, he just has a low ceiling. He's just never going to be that guy. So sometimes take a chance on a guy who has the potential, his physical nature, his testing show that he can really be something special. I would rather do that and fail than just get, kind of go boring all the time.
Well, that goes with Rivera and them's philosophy anyways. I mean, look at the people that they take on to develop. I mean, even Jarrett Patterson, totally overlooked. Samus Reyes, totally overlooked. The guys are just raw. And so he knows that they got super potential. John Bates, super potential. Some of these people that they picked are exactly what you're talking about. I love projects like that. If you got a couple of years and the people that you're working, your front people are working fine, you need them back people to be coming up and next year, the year after, and they need to be in the scheme. They need to know what the hell's going on, so you don't have a lapse. That's how these long running football teams like the New England Patriots and the devil himself do that. He's always got these guys. It wasn't just Brady that got him there, but coach, bringing these guys in and next man up and all that. So
and he also brought in the right guys for the right scheme.
Yeah.
That's another mistake in drafting. People draft so stupid sometimes.
Yeah.
They just bring in guys. But here's another part. So, like, the team might be drafting really good, right? But then they fire the coach. They bring in a new coordinator. So you got all these players, and they have all new schemes. Yeah. And now you're starting from scratch because some of those players aren't working out because that's just not how they played ball. And that's not how they played for the last 2 years for the pro team. And now you're asking them to say, oh, well, now we're a 3-4. We're going to have you stand up and rush the passer. And you can't do that to people. But even some long-term teams, and New England always does it well because they always draft guys where you go, oh, who's that guy? Northern Iowa. But because they pinpoint guys that fit what they want to do, and that's so important. Exactly. I think coach did it. I mean, John Bates was a 6th round. They said he was going to go in the 6th or 7th round. And I went back and looked at everywhere. And he went we got him in the 4th. And on paper, you go, wow, dude, that was kind of early, man. That guy, everyone said he'd be there in the 6th. What are you doing? But you know what? Our scouts saw something, and they were right. Because the guy was a monster, and he did not look like the NFL was too big for him.
Nice. No, he did great. I think what coach is doing is fine. The way he develops it, like you're saying, get these people where they fit in with the scheme. Now, we got kneecapped last year. Like everybody else. It was bad for everybody. I don't want to take that away from everybody, but, we first game out of the chute, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Fitzmagic and all that all the way on down the line. It just, so his scheme of what he's trying to do doesn't develop, It's supposed to be Fitzmagic and we'll develop somebody else and blah, blah, and none of that even.
Nothing happened.
Materialized. So we're like where we were a year ago and continuing that process. So I see it as a positive thing.
Yep. Yeah, it was tough, dude. I mean, I don't want to sit and go over that, but when you lose your quarterback like that right away, and then it was only a couple games later, John Bostic went down, the middle linebacker, and then Jamin Davis had to go. People always, that's the other thing. Remember, I was defending Jamin Davis. Everyone forgets Jamin Davis wasn't supposed to go in and be the starting middle linebacker.
Exactly.
They were going to ease him in, play over here, do some special teams, set him up, let him rush the passer in obvious passing downs, let him build him up. And all of a sudden Bostic goes down. It's like, dude, you're in, you're the man.
Yeah.
So everything that could go wrong for Jamin in many, many ways went wrong. That's kind of another reason. I'm glad you talked about that I have a little more faith in him and it may not work out that way, but I got some faith in him that he, a lot of things, and for him and for our team, just the dominoes started to fall the wrong way early.
As a team, to give them kudos, remember they would just fight back and they would just fight back and they would just keep trying. But there comes a point sometimes when like, damn, no matter what you do, you're just not gonna get there. So just keep playing. Don't get hurt. Get out of the season as fast as you can. And so try again next year. I was good with everything they did last year with all the guys. I'm not one of these haters on the thing on the Twitter sphere or whatever.
Yeah,
I think our team did great with everything.
I do too.
All the situation that was handed to them, they did good. So, and this year looks just as promising, if not more promising. That if everything holds together, you can only take the snapshot of the future of what you have right now. So you're not never wrong when you make a prediction now, because you could say, yes, under the circumstances that I am putting forth right now, it should work like this. But then along comes these other things and changes your initial view of what was going on. So of course it's going to change. But under what we see right now, it should work. And the same with last year when we did this shit, dude. They were just so lined up to kill. You know what I'm saying? The schedule, Fitzmagic, the whole thing was just set up to just blow right through that division and go into the postseason and take it all the way to the the big ring and the big trophy. That should have happened as we saw it last year when we were doing this exact thing.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's what happened. Like you said, everyone has issues. Everyone has, everyone got COVID. Everyone had injuries. But the way it happened to us is not only one team lost their quarterback in the first half of the first game. That was our team. Yeah. It wasn't Matthew Stafford went out, but it wasn't. Yeah. No, it was our quarterback. Yeah. That sends a ripple through your team like you can't believe. Mm-hmm. To happen in the first half of the game.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, Boston goes down and they got a rookie middle linebacker. And then it's just, it was hard.
Was supposed to be more than just our quarterback too. He was our like older veteran guy. He brings that team cohesion. He was supposed to be that guy too, whereas Matthew Stafford or some of these other guys kind of aren't that. I mean, they're leaders and they're captains, but Fitzmagic had the special thing of being, I'm this veteran journeyman guy who goes from team to team, and I'm here to show you what I know from the NFL and nothing. So
it all went down. It started to crash and burn right away. So
it was brutal for a while there.
I mean, I'm telling you, we're starting the year with a quarterback Fitzmagic was 38. Our new quarterback's only 28.
Yeah.
And, Fitz knows it. Carson Wentz is a much better quarterback. So we're actually going into the season improved. We got a much better quarterback.
I believe so.
Much better than Heineke, but better than Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
I mean, even we admitted, hey, we got a journeyman here. This guy, this is not Johnny Unitas, it's not Bart Starr. This is, Ryan Fitzpatrick, but he's going to be solid, going to keep our team solid. He's going to make smart decisions. That's what we were looking at him for. So, but now I think we've upgraded.
I think so. I like Carson.
Yeah.
I think it's going to
Unfortunately,
be good.
I think Carson, I've heard, is going to be I was hoping Carson be number 14, bro. It's
He's number 11, isn't
he? Yeah.
Well, I can just like cover that part up and make the 4-1.
You know what? It'll be easier. Someone on that roster is going to, like one of the receivers will be number 14.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll put his name on the back of your shirt. We'll just, scribble it back there.
I'll do it. Yeah. I'm not buying more stuff until I think it's settled. So I think everything I got is still.
Yeah.
But
the colors are good.
They're still the Washington football team. I mean, have you heard of that new Miami football team they got down there? The Miami football team. They're a great team. The Saints football team. They're, New Orleans football team is a great team. Everybody's the football team. So we can continue to say that and have the merch, and it doesn't change a thing. They're the Commanders now. I'm good with it. See, so.
And they're Washington. You got Washington there. So it's all good. Yeah, because, man, I tell you, I got to see how those new uniforms go, if they make any changes to them. Yeah, they were okay. They're pretty cool.
I like the black and red aspect of them because nobody in the NFL really is black and red.
Yeah, the only team that does it is I think the Cardinals is an alternative. Use a black one.
Okay, cool.
But that's the only black and red that I've seen. But yeah, I kind of like that too. So that'll be good to see that when they get on Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football, they'll do that. Or who knows? Maybe I think maybe they get Thanksgiving at Dallas.
God, I'm really hoping this year they got to do better in the division. That's all there is to it.
That's brutal.
The key for me. You know how that is. I mean, we had that. That was the other thing about last year too that we saw at the very beginning of the season was those last 5 games of the season to wrap it all up. Here it is, guys. Whoops.
Yep. And then we went in, our whole roster was wrecked.
It was
injured. It was destroyed.
And Dallas was like brutal at that time, dude. I mean, they just come into their own right then too. They were screwing up left and right, and then they just devastated us. So
that was rough. Yeah, we went in there. Went into a knife fight with a teaspoon or something. It just wasn't fair. Well, look, man, let's
cool.
I think we covered it really good. The draft is coming up. We're gonna live stream the draft.
We are.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we're gonna come in about an hour into the draft, maybe about 4 or 5 picks before the Commanders pick at 11. So, because we're not going to do the whole draft, we just want to see what that pick is, and we'll kind of be talking about the picks before any trade. There'll probably be some trades there, so it'll be fun. So, anyway, just check it out, folks. Next Thursday. So,
let me just say Thursday the 28th.
Thursday the 28th. Yep. So that is Here in Dallas, that starts at 7 o'clock. So that means 7 o'clock Central. That means we'll probably come on around 8.
8 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock on the
Pacific,
West Coast.
On the West Coast.
9 o'clock on the East Coast.
Yeah, so we'll come into the draft about an hour after it's been on for about an hour. Like I said, 4 or 5 picks ahead of pick 11. And and then we'll just kind of do it, and that'll be fun. And then after that, the week after the draft, we'll have a show where we kind of go over everything. Our new draft picks. We'll talk about them, and I think there'll be some undrafted free agents. I'm sure they'll bring a few of those in, but we'll kind of have an idea of the 6 or 8 players that are new to our roster. We can talk about all those guys.
Yeah, and how it's solidified the thing, because that's what you're basically going into the season with. There might be minor adjustments after that, but nothing crazy. As soon as the draft is over, we're going to know this is the team. How many people usually is it? I think we got 68 on the roster now. How many you get? 90?
I wonder how much they go up to, because some teams go crazy. Like last year, we only had 2 undrafted free agents. Some teams get 10 and 15. I don't know if that's coach's philosophy. I was going to look into that. I forgot. Or if because of COVID, they just targeted a couple guys. Said, look, we don't need a bunch of bodies around here with
cool.
COVID.
I know you can have like up to 90 guys on your roster.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some of these teams, I remember the Chargers would get 15, 17 people, which I personally think is really cool. But I can see from last year during the pandemic, you didn't need a bunch of bodies that you're trying to control floating around. But I hope they do bring in a bunch of guys, because I swear to God, man, you always get a couple gems out of those undrafted guys. Yeah. You always pick someone good. All right, Scrub. Well, good show, man. It's been a while. I felt a little rusty, but it wasn't too bad.
This is what we do, dude. We're just Commander-centric. We just like this team. The rest of the NFL, you guys can go find that. There's an internet full of a bazillion people that want to give you their opinion on what the hell's going on. You're welcome to it. But if you want to know about the Commanders and just the basic, hey, we're guys that watch football, keep up with Coach. We like Coach Ron. We like this team because we think they're good-hearted, and despite what's above them, we don't care about that,
Yeah.
So we think they're a good, solid team, and in a division they can win, and they've got good potential. So
they do. They really do. They have a great season. So, all right, man. Well, I'm looking forward to draft night a week from today. So, all right, man. Well,
I'll doctor this thing a little bit and just put up a couple of little a reminder for next week, and I'm barely going to touch this thing, dog. We're going to put it out there.
Okay.
It's our style.
All right.
Later, man. Take care.
Bye, everybody.